Welcome to VERSED, the ASCAP podcast. I'm Eric Philbrook. Coming up in this episode, Beth Brinker talks to Nashville-based singer-songwriter-guitarist Devin Gilfillian, an artist making waves with his modern take on old-school blues, rock, and soul music, and whose 2020 debut album, Black Hole Rainbow, just nabbed a Grammy nomination. Then later, in our Anatomy of a Song segment, we'll hear from Whitney Phillips and Gian, who talk about their quarantine collaboration on the Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber hit Stuck With You. First, joining me today is Executive Director of the ASCAP Foundation and one of my personal favorite colleagues, Colleen McDonough. She has been hard at work preparing a virtual presentation of this year's ASCAP Foundation Honors event, which takes place on Tuesday, December 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Well, the ASCAP Foundation is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization, how it started, and what has been its mission from the get-go?
I'd be happy to. The ASCAP Foundation was established by the ASCAP board in 1975 when the widow of Jack Norworth, Jack wrote Take Me Out to the Ballgame, she bequeathed the royalties from that song to ASCAP to do something to support deserving young composers and songwriters. So the ASCAP board decided to establish a public charity called the ASCAP Foundation to do just that, to nurture and support aspiring songwriters and composers. The foundation had a few programs right from the get-go, a couple of songwriter workshops in musical theater and pop. But it really wasn't until the mid-1990s when Marilyn Bergman was president of ASCAP, she was also president of the ASCAP Foundation, decided that the foundation was a sleeping giant and could really do some good. And she tapped ASCAP employee Karen Sherry to become the executive director of the foundation. And several years later, I joined Karen, and we have happily grown the foundation since that time.
Well, you two were certainly a dynamic duo, and the foundation today has so many awards, scholarships, and programs. All of them are so incredibly impactful and valuable, but too numerous to mention them all. What are some of the key awards or scholarships that you feel best represent the goals of the foundation?
The mission of the ASCAP Foundation is to support aspiring songwriters, composers, and lyricists, as well as to ensure that music education stays in our schools. And our particular focus is on songwriting, music creation. Right. So there are a lot of ways that we do that, as you mentioned, through scholarships and awards, and also through music education programs. I'd say one of a couple of our strongest and most far-reaching programs. We have a showcase. We have a partnership actually with the Kennedy Center in Washington D.C., and we established a program. Dr. Billy Taylor, actually, who was the consultant with the Kennedy Center, came to the ASCAP Foundation and said, you know, there are so many talented young vocalists who get the limelight shown on them, but what people don't understand or realize that there are also so many young songwriters who do more than sing. Right. So he wanted us to establish a showcase, a partnership with the Kennedy Center, to give the opportunity for performance to young songwriters and composers. So we do that every year. We have a couple of nights there where we bring in some of our young talent, and it's a terrific opportunity for them. We also are fortunate enough to have donors who have established songwriting workshops. We have a workshop in the name of Harry Chapin, and a lot of pop songwriters are nurtured through that. Going back to our music education programs, we were the first organization that established a music program at the Fresh Air Fund summer camps, which is up in upstate New York for New York City public school children. We provide songwriting teachers and instruments to the camp all summer, so thousands and thousands of kids have the benefit of learning from a music teacher in very intimate settings. Our Richard Rogers New Horizons Award recognizes up-and-coming musical theater writers. As you said, Eric, we have over 150 programs, so it's hard to elaborate and point one out. But one of the things that I love to think about and talk about is our partnership with the Herb Alpert Foundation, where we nurtured young jazz composers, our Morton Gould Young Concert Composer Program. The thing that's so wonderful about the ASCAP Foundation is that we reach out and support all genres and all generations.
That's incredible. And I know you have your work cut out for you with all that. But for the foundation to fulfill its mission, it really needs the support of the music community and individuals who are actively advocating for music development and education. But for that to happen, you first need to make people aware of the need for that support. How do you and your team go about spreading that awareness?
We do it in so many different ways, and we have a small team on the ASCAP Foundation, but super committed, super dedicated, and one of the ways that most makes a lot of sense, of course, in the most recent years is through social media, through online fundraising appeals. We also go the old-fashioned route. You know, we print out and write up a newsletter and snail mail that out to hundreds and thousands of people. People do like to read those and are very generous in that way, supporting this. Of course, with Giving Tuesday just recently taking place, we had a big presence there. There was also a Giving Tuesday Now event that took place in May. We are fortunate to have access to so many ASCAP members who have been generous towards the foundation, because I think they understand that this organization is one that is close to their own work. They are songwriters, they are composers, they are lyricists, and that is exactly the world that we are supporting and nurturing. And so we have that as well to tap into. ASCAP employees have been very generous to the foundation. They see our work close up as well.
That's great.
So, there are a lot of efforts in that way.
So as with so many events this year, the foundation is taking its honors event virtual on Tuesday, December 8th. How did you have to pivot to honor this year's recipients?
I think, like so many people this year, we all had to take a step back and respond in a new and different way to what has happened with the pandemic and not being able to be face-to-face. I love our annual honors event that normally happens in person in a beautiful venue in New York City. And it's an opportunity for young talent to meet people in the music industry, to meet the donors who have provided the funding for their scholarship or awards. So I did not want to lose that opportunity. It's been really fun to reach out to our donors and our recipients and talk to them about making a video, either presenting an award or accepting an award. People have been really creative, and I think that'll come through in the show. And we cannot showcase all 125 young people who have gotten our scholarships and awards this year. So we had to just have a very small segment of them because our show is 1 hour long. Right. And so, as I said, we put it all together and some terrific performances, and looking forward to having everybody witness firsthand or secondhand or remotely, virtually, the work that we're doing and the impact we're having.
Right. So the silver lining in presenting a virtual event is that you can invite more people to experience them. So if people are interested in tuning in and watching the show this year, how can they RSVP for the honors?
Yeah, I'd like to direct people to the ASCAP Foundation website. www.ascapfoundation.org, and there will be a link there for people to register. You really do have to register in order to get the link to watch the show, which, as Eric said, is premiering on December 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So yeah, that's really the best way.
Great. Well, I know this is a very busy time for you and your team, so I'll let you go. But before I do, I just want to ask you one last question. What about your job are you most inspired by?
You know, I don't even think of it as a job. I kind of think of it as my life's work. I've been fortunate to work in industries that I love. You know, whether it was higher education or sports, now music. I've always been a firm believer that if you are doing something you love, you will, and you know, what are the adage is, you're never working a day in your life. So I think for me, with the ASCAP Foundation, knowing that there are so many creative, inspirational people working now individually, but you know, sometime soon back together, collaborating, creating music, sharing music. It's just a joy to be able to know that I'm participating in the process of helping people express themselves in a creative way and share that with the world.
Well, you expressed yourself beautifully, and I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so fortunate to be part of ASCAP and the ASCAP community. And as ASCAP Foundation President Paul Williams would say, you are a warrior for the light. So keep up the great work, and thanks for sharing all this great news about the foundation with us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Eric, and I will throw it right back at you, because from my first day here, I think you were one of the first people I met, came up to my office and said, we got to take a photograph. And ever since then, it's been fun going to your office and seeing all your incredible music memorabilia, always inspiring. So thank you for doing this and putting a little spotlight on the foundation.
Devin Gilfillian grew up in Philadelphia on a steady diet of hip-hop, rock, blues, and soul music, while soaking up the sounds of his musician father's music, including artists such as Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, Otis Redding, and more. Gilfillian also developed an appreciation for the beats and vibe of modern rap stars such as the Notorious B.I.G. and Jay-Z. He combined it all into his own music, and after releasing an electrifying EP in 2016, he got signed to Capitol Records and hit the road performing with the likes of Anderson East, Keith Urban, Gladys Knight, Mavis Staples, Brothers Osborne, and many more. Now he's on a roll. Earlier this year, he released his debut album, Black Hole Rainbow, a critically acclaimed recording which just garnered a Grammy nomination. And if that wasn't enough, he followed that up by releasing a track-by-track cover of Marvin Gaye's classic 1971 album, What's Going On. Now based in Nashville, Gilfillian was just named the recipient of the ASCAP Foundation Leon Brettler Award and will be honored at the ASCAP Foundation Honors Virtual event on Tuesday, December 8th. He's one of the most exciting new artists coming out of Music City today, and we're thrilled to have him as a guest. I'm also thrilled to pass the mic over to ASCAP Associate Director of Creative Beth Brinker in Nashville, whose deep love for music shines through everything she does, and who really makes me want to add the word y'all to my vocabulary. Here is Beth's interview with the dynamic Devon Gilfillian.
Devin Gilfillian, it's so good to have you.
Bev, it's so good to see you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. You guys have a podcast. It's incredible.
We do, it's so fun because now we get to do it like Zoom and podcast. It's a little bit of both worlds, so we still get to hang out.
Yes. No, it's been too long. It's been way too long.
I know. Well, it's crazy because it kind of doesn't feel like that long, because we had one of my favorite phone conversations of the year, I think, when I called and told you about the Leon Brettler Award, which you're receiving at the ASCAP Foundation Awards this week. And it was so special because we just talked for like an hour about the world and what was happening, and kind of where we were both at in it creatively and, you know, emotionally and the whole thing. And so I feel like we had a really good catch up, but it was also special to get to call with good news. In a year like this, I was like, this feels like
you were like a sunshine, a shiny sun just coming through the dark clouds and breaking them open. And seriously, Beth, that was not only a refreshing conversation, but, you know, and like, not, of course, like from the Leon Brettler Award, of like, wow, you know, but like just like getting to talk about the world and stuff that was happening with you was really refreshing. And, you know, I feel that kinship.
I do too. You know, we've always been really good buds, so it was an easy phone call to make, and it was a fun one. Yeah. But it also was just like, it kind of just made me feel a little bit more, I don't know, hopeful and connected. And I was like, there's so much that we're missing, but there's so much that isn't lost at all, you know. And I think that it's only getting stronger, and people are feeling the need to connect more and deeper. And I feel like that's what we're good at, you know.
It really, absolutely. I think, and you're great at that.
You're great at that.
No, you're great at that.
I love friendship. Well, so we touched on Liam Brettler. So if people don't know, he was this incredible publisher, and he worked for Shapiro Bernstein for years and years, which at one point was Johnny Cash's publisher, and he sat on the ASCAP board for 40 years. And so the foundation is so special because through these incredible you know, former publishers or songwriters, there's this legacy and this endowment where they give back. And so his sons are kind of carrying on that tradition and doing that in his name with the Leon Brettler Award. So you are now part of that, you know, and it's so special. And typically we would be in New York City, Rockefeller Center, you know, the whole thing, the tree. But you know what? We're going to get there. We'll just do it a different time.
One day we will.
Here's a tree for you. We will. No, we will. And that's the thing. It's like, it's just not the time right now. And that's okay, because we're getting to do a lot of other things that we wouldn't get to do, you know?
Exactly.
So for everyone, let's just deep dive into Devin Gilfillian.
Let's go. I'm down. I'm in.
Okay. From Philly. Moved to Nashville, 2013. But let's go before Nashville. Early influences. Go.
Early influences before Nashville. I mean, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, music. We're talking music, right? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, people, music.
We're not talking about like cooking. We're talking music. We're talking.
I don't know. Whatever inspires you, man.
Stevie Wonder, for sure. I would say Stevie Wonder is probably one of my earliest influences because it was one of my dad's influences. My dad's a singer, and, you know, my dad obviously was number one. He was the earliest influence musically on me. But Stevie Wonder was his like North Star. So that became, you know, one of the stars in, like, basically I'd say vocally the North Star in my galaxy to start with, as far as like being a singer. And then Jimi Hendrix was my other star, you know, in the whole,
in your galaxy.
And as far as like guitar and opening my mind and falling in love with psychedelic rock and psychedelic soul and yeah. And so those were like my earliest ones before Nashville.
And when did you decide that you wanted to not just be a musician, but be a songwriter? You know?
I was like, when I picked the guitar up, I was just like, I want to be a hired gun. I just want to play a guitar and, you know, shred, and that's it. I didn't really want to sing, but I would always end up being the one who sang because I was the only one who could in the band. And and so like eventually I kind of like got more comfortable singing and more comfortable with myself, being the front person, and that was the beginning. That was like when I was like, okay, like I'm cool to like, I'll be the front person. I could be down with that. But really, it wasn't until moving to Nashville when I was in 2013 when was until like then I took writing seriously and like considered myself a songwriter. But I knew I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to pursue music probably since I was in sixth grade. Like I did we did a project where we had to figure out our careers. Like our teacher was like, all right, you have research your career, find out how much money they make, and and how long the hours are, what kind of like what it entails, whatever. And we did. And I looked up music producer because I wanted to be like Pharrell, and I loved Pharrell.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up, and it was like, you make $45,000 to $55,000 a year. And I was like, what? That ain't right. No, they're making millions of dollars. But I still like was like, okay, sure, whatever. I guess if you can make that much, I'd be happy on that.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll kick it. And that, but that was like, I feel like music was always in the equation somehow.
Yeah. Did you immediately sort of fall into a circle of people that you liked writing with, or do you like to write by yourself?
I was really lucky in the beginning when I started like seriously co-writing with people. I started writing with this guy, Zach Smith from Smooth Hound Smith, and good friend of mine. And like, he was like a perfect first co-writing partner to like that, like was definitely a great, like I looked up to him. Like he was a great songwriter. He had recorded EPs, LP record, albums, and written many songs. And I was like, cool, like, man, like, Zach, can you help me? And so he was like the first one who I wasn't just like goofing around with some other like Joe Schmo who like also like didn't really know what's going on, So Zach was like legit. So that was awesome. And then I have a couple of friends now, like this guy Tim Bruns that I love to write with him. I love writing with Jamie Liddell. He's I mean, just like a crazy electronic genius, all about getting weird sounds and all that. But yeah, early on, Mr. Smoothhound Smith, I attribute, getting some early my chops sharpened.
Yeah. And it's cool to be able to do that in a way that it feels like comfortable enough because you're friends, but serious enough because you respect what they do and what they've done before. And it's almost becomes sort of like a mentorship, creative little collaboration that it's like a mutual respect,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so cool. So this year is a little different than we thought it was going to be, but you've done a lot of stuff this year, my friend.
You got to keep busy somehow. Like I'm not on the road, so I got to do something.
Okay, so how has the pandemic and the shift of kind of being more off the road, how has that shifted the way that you create?
Well, I've been doing a lot of Zoom writing, and honestly, it's not as good as getting in the room with people, but it does allow for you to write with people who are in California, LA. I wrote with a buddy in London, and like you can write with people from all over the world, which is really cool. And it forced me to like get my setup over here, like my recording gear, my interface, my microphones, and all the stuff I need to like record vocals remotely, and now I can do that. And so it's put a pressure on me and many musicians, I'm sure, to like evolve. And like I've fallen in love with Logic and GarageBand, and recording and like producing, and produced a song this year with Joseph, band Joseph, and in my like bedroom.
Yeah.
which was really cool. So like yeah, like it's just forced me to like crunch and create with whatever I got around me. And
I
I think
know.
that's really cool.
I mean, isn't that so wild and awesome? Because it is. It sort of forces you to um, kind of just be with yourself and figure out, like, assess the tools at hand. I'm just so thankful. There's just so much of what's happened this year that I can't help but be thankful for. And exactly like you were saying, it's like you have to figure out what you need to be better so you can kind of self-sustain if you need to.
100.
Just like producing a song in your bedroom.
Absolutely. We got to look at everything, like look at the tools that we have in front of us, and the community that we're, like being here in Nashville, like for the first time, like not being on the road. Like I can now go, I just moved to a new neighborhood. I'm in Madison now. But I bought a house, which is awesome.
Yeah, you did. We were talking about that on the phone that day, and I was just like, man, like there's nothing more exciting.
The dream, it truly is the dream.
It really is the dream to be able to, for your success and your hard work, to afford a roof over your head. I mean, that's just like the most fundamental thing. It's like, that's the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And I'm, and so like, yeah, like buying a house and being here and being home in Nashville and in Madison, like going outside and seeing my neighbors and appreciating like the people around, and like truly being present in this moment that is really meant for us to slow down. Like we are being forced to slow down and look inwards, look at us, look at our relationships with our families, because of all the politics and all the, and all like everything that's happening, it's forcing us to look at it. And thank God we got Biden at least into the White House. I mean, because the alternative is this psychopath who is just discrediting the government, and like I honestly think that if this pandemic didn't happen, that we would probably have 4 more years of Trump, and we wouldn't have looked at George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor and paid attention in the way that we did. And the art that has been coming out wouldn't be coming out. The art that's going to come out next year wouldn't be coming out. And I think I'm really actually grateful for Donald Trump, because he exposed all of the hate and all of the bull s that was, that is there, that was being covered by a toupee, so
yes, I do know. That's why one of the many reasons I won't be going home for Christmas. On my coffee. No, it's just, we talked a lot about that too, and it's just I think that this year everybody's insides are showing, whether it's how they're handling this time with themselves, how they're handling the pandemic. Do they want to put something over their face to protect other people? Every little thing. Are they paying attention to what's happening with people that aren't like them? That people from, all these little things. it's forcing people to, you have to speak up. You have to say what you feel is right and what you feel is wrong. And this has just been the time for that. And if you, by saying nothing, you are saying everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as soon as, I went out to a protest after George Floyd was killed, and I saw people playing music. I saw people banging on drums and stuff. And I was like, man, I want to bring my guitar out, and grab the guitar. The next day there's a protest, and I was like, I'm gonna learn what's going on and take it out, sing it, spread some good vibes.
Yeah.
And I like sat down and started like kind of like getting it down on the acoustic, and I just like started break down crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is what Marvin was trying to say. This song, this poem, this, this message written 50 years ago,
right,
is saying every single thing that people need to be hearing right now. And it's crazy. And then I listened to the whole album, and I was like, everything in this album. I mean, Save the Children, God is Love, Inner City Blues, Mercy, Mercy Me. I mean, it's all talking about everything that's happening right now. And after that, I was like, I need to figure out. I was like, what is my purpose?
right.
What is my purpose as a musician, as an artist? It's to inspire people to do better, and to look at the world, and to actually, critique it, and like think about it, and empathize with people, and spread love. And like I was like, how do I do that now? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to do it without like going out and playing shows in front of people. And, so I was like, maybe so I put together the idea, the what's going on idea, and gathered all like a bunch of African-American artists, Black artists I love, and got, Ruby Amanfu, Jason Eskridge, Amani Wilkins, all these amazing Nashville folks too. And sang and just collaborated and sang the whole record, and raise money for Equity Alliance here in Tennessee, that, they fight the voter suppression. Mm-hmm. And that was like, basically, I wanted to do something. I wanted something tangible, like as far as like raising money towards something that like it affected the election directly, like,
right.
And just inspire people to get out and vote, because really this year, every year, like 2016, of course, like I voted, and I voted every year since I could vote. But it really was eye-opening to me how many people just don't vote, don't care, like, or are just delusional.
Yes. And people think, think that voting is a political move, and it's not. I mean, it's just not. It's just the only way that you have a say in the world around you.
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
Yep. Yes. Come on, y'all. Come on.
Oh, so that people are like, oh, I'm not political. I'm like, yeah, well, no, this isn't politics.
I'm not political.
None of it. And that's been my thing this year, is like, none of all these things that are politicized, none of it is politics. This is not politics. This is human kindness and decency, and how we treat each other, and how we protect each other, and how we fight against, absolute
Evil and lie.
disparity and evil, anyway, so it's just like, so voting is such a special privilege that we have, and when I voted and I went back out to my car, I voted in person, it was a well-oiled machine. It was very safe. I felt really like was in and out very quickly. And I just went to my car and I sobbed, like just cried and cried and cried. It was like a release of all of the feelings that I had had this entire year, and the sadness and the, just the shock of some of the things that I'd seen and heard. And I just felt like it was my only way that I could try to, align with a way to make it better. Not the only way, but in that moment, it was the only thing that I could feel would be a tangible, so it feels so much bigger than me. So if we're voting towards something that will,
that
be
feeling
better for the greater good, not even myself, everyone else, and I think that's a big conversation that I've had with my family as well, where you just, I don't vote. It's funny to say, but I didn't feel like I was voting for myself at all. I didn't care if I sacrificed something, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to you? It was something like, I don't care. It was almost like, I don't care about the economy. I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about people.
Yeah.
And I just cried and I cried.
And I mean, and that's like, no, I remember that moment, and casting that vote. And yeah, it's just like, you feel like you're like shooting a giant T-Rex with a Nerf gun. being in Tennessee, that is.
Yeah, that's a bummer. And I'm now in a different county too, so that was like, oh man.
Yeah. But like it is all we can do, and we did it.
And it was really special, even with ASCAP and working to sort of get people to vote, and just awareness of your right, and getting a lot of people on board to speak, and people did.
People showed up. Stacey Abrams. Love you, Stacey Abrams, so much.
I want to hug that lady.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
When it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna hug her.
I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna hug you. You want to see this mug that my sister got me?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. I was thinking this earlier. I'm like, coffee mugs are the new accessory of 2020, I'm like, ooh, this nice little pop of color.
For the podcast listeners, my mug said,
I'm
one fart away from a poop. Actually, sorry, it says poo, not poop. Anyway,
we forgot we were podcasting.
6-year-old joke for the day.
I like it. Well, you know what else I like? I like that you were so inspired by this year. I like that you were so productive this year. And it seems, this is something else I like, is that you're being celebrated a lot this year, which for someone who has known you as long as I have, just makes me so happy. You got a Grammy nomination.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Where were you when you found out? Tell me about that moment.
Actually taking a poop when
I knew you were gonna say that. As soon as I asked, I was like, he's taking a poop.
John knocked on the door and I could hear him knocking on that door behind me. And I was like, come in. And he was like, I got some news. And I was like, wait, don't tell me yet. Just give me like a second.
Oh no.
so I can celebrate, like,
Hands on.
after this.
Well, you know what I also like is most people probably wouldn't have admitted that, and you did admit that, and we all have to live with it.
Now everyone has to live with it. Everyone.
Yeah, it's one way to make a memory. Hey, what was it like to play late night with Jimmy Kimmel?
Man, well, it was like very different because of COVID.
Sure.
So we didn't get to like fly out to LA
Right.
and like meet him and all that stuff, which is a little bummery, but I did, but like it was actually really cool because we got to do the video and there was like no pressure and we got to make it at Studio 615. And we did it with homies and it was super, super simple. And watching him, and actually it was like cool because we just got to sit and like watch and like see Jimmy Kimmel say my name like 5 or 6 times and say it right.
You said it right.
That was wild.
Devon Gilfillian.
Devon Gilfillian.
Oh my God, that's one of my like most favorite things of all time.
Gilfillian.
No, that Key and Peele thing.
Is it wait, Key and Peele or is it Rush Hour?
That was Key and Peele. It's Key and Peele.
Wait.
We've been watching a lot of that.
The football.
That's what you said it like. I think that's one of them.
Devon Gilfillian.
Yeah. Yes.
That would for sure be my Key and Peele football, or North is like North versus
the Ohio State.
That's so good.
Oh,
so
I've been watching a lot of them. I love them. I'm so impressed with how people are, making the most of a very strange year, and and just like pivot a little bit. It's okay. Like you couldn't go to LA. That's all right. You did your thing, and the cool thing is, you still get to. I mean, it still happened. That's the thing. It still happened.
Yeah.
You were still on Jimmy Kimmel, and things are still happening. Nothing has stopped. Nothing. People are like, oh, the holidays are canceled. What? You need to refocus your lens because nothing is really canceled. Everything is just sort of reimagined this year. And it literally is, what are you making of it,
100%. It's reimagined. And I love how you said that. Everything is reimagined. It's not canceled. It's reimagined. And it's actually, it's almost like someone yesterday told me, it's like the great restart. It's almost like a restart for a lot of people and a lot of things. And we really needed it, for a lot of people needed it to slow down. I wouldn't have bought a house if we were still on the road and all that, all the stuff. And who knows it, so
it absolutely, it's like the worst thing that we had no idea that we needed, to sort of refocus, and there's so many things, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, things that you have sort of little habits that you've developed or sort of, new ways of doing things that for sure or is from here on out where you're going to continue to kind of go in that way that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Man, I mean, just being intentional about my relationships, for sure. I mean, like, I did get out of a relationship in August, and that was something that, being in quarantine relationship, and it was long distance, and I think learn a little bit more, who's that person, who's the right person for me. And I think that's one portion of my life aspect that has evolved.
Right.
But as far as like collaborating with artists and people, like I now feel like I can collaborate with anybody wherever in the world, which is incredible, you know, and like, yeah, living by myself. I'm not gonna have a roommate ever again.
Yeah.
That's something that, unless they are my like
Partner.
dynamite person,
Yeah.
you know, wifey,
Yep.
straight up wifey. And yeah, who knows when that's gonna happen.
That's right. Well, you never know, brother. You never know. Um, it's so true. You know, I feel like even with ASCAP and shifting things like ASCAP Experience, which is typically in LA, that was online, and we had a ASCAP Foundation workshop. Speaking of the ASCAP Foundation, where we had 25 writers from all over the world who would have never gotten to experience that time in that council and that, you know, mentorship and the collaboration, like all of these things would just have never happened. And now I'm like, why would we not do it that way all the time, you know? And of course
Yeah.
there's so much to be said about being together and the collaboration that happens that way. But what we're learning is that so much can be done from anywhere, you know, working from home. This is something where you figure out if you're good at it. And I feel more creative, it seems, you know,
Yep.
but being out and about with people, oh yeah, and that's, I can't wait for that to happen again. But creating a workspace at home where I look out and see a view that feels like, you know, I'm inspired, but it's also comforting because it's my home. You know, it's like all these little things you figure it out and you're like, okay, this is all right, you know?
It's really is. We've evolved in so many awesome ways. And like you said, like, yeah, it's working from home. We've figured out like what we can do from home and what we can do from afar. And when we are, you know, forced to these limitations, what can we get done? And the reality is we can get a lot done.
Yeah, and there's so many instances where I feel more connected to people because you have to work harder to do that, and it's a more meaningful connection because it's concentrated, right? It's curated. It's you've sort of sift through it all, and you really focus on having deeper relationships versus seeing people and running into, oh hey, how you doing? You know, all that kind of stuff has sort of been eliminated. So all the communication is very thoughtful, um, and it feels good. Like it feels better, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that that's something that when the world is upright again, um, there's so many things like that that I hope will continue, and people will continue to dig a little deeper. You know, personal
Same.
relationships, work relationships, all the things. You know, this year has just taught us so much about that, and I'm so grateful for it.
Same. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful to have people in my life that care about me and love me enough to stick through it with me, you know, in these times. And I got people to lean on, and you know, because
Yeah,
it's, yeah.
you do. You're so loved, and I'm so happy that you have the ASCAP family as well,
Yes.
and friendship family.
I'm so
And
grateful for you, Beth. Oh my God.
it's so cool. I mean, this is my friendship with you and the way that we get to have that connection, but also dream stuff up to do, you know, creatively and for ASCAP and things to do together and to be able to support you through all these different parts of your career. I'm like, that's why this is the job. Like, that's why that makes it feel like, okay, you're where you're supposed to be, because that just means so much, you know. And if I didn't get to work with people like you, it wouldn't, you know. Simple as that.
It feels, and it feels like family, you
Yeah.
know. Like I said, like, you know, you feel like a sister. Like you feel like my sister had always had, but like, you know, and uh it's that's how it should feel. And that's, I feel like when the music industry feels like that, great, magical, beautiful things happen, you know?
Exactly how I feel. And when it doesn't feel like that, that's when you have to shift and adjust around it. To me, that's how I feel, because our relationships and our everyday interaction, it's not what it seems on the outside, right? Nothing about the entertainment industry is as glamorous as it may seem, but it's just real life, for us. Like, you're up on stage, and to people that come to the shows, it's one thing, but you get off that stage, you're just a man, and
Yep.
You have all these thoughts and emotions and feelings and stuff you're going through. Nobody is exempt from going through stuff and feeling things, and it's very interesting. You got to take a step back and you have to reevaluate, and that's what this year has been good for, is sort of separating all that out and kind of taking an assessment and looking at it and prioritizing it, and so it feels cool to be in a position to be part of the real life aspect of it, and still be supportive and be in the industry, but always be a home base for songwriters and a safe place for songwriters, and that's what I feel like ASCAP is, and that's why I'm here,
And that's why I'm with y'all. Because you and you making it feel like that kind of a safe place and home.
Well, that's how it should feel. Well, I'm happy that you welcomed us into your home so that we could have a little chat about these crazy times and these good times. And I'm just so proud of you. You put out a record this year. Two.
Wow. That's
Grammy,
pretty cool.
late night. I mean, I'm just so proud. And I hope that you can sort of take a breath, enjoy the holiday season. Do you feel like you can do that? Kind of just be like, okay.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna take a hard nap,
Good.
Hard holiday nap.
Good. You gonna get a Christmas tree?
I am. I'm doing it, Beth. This year I'm getting a Christmas tree. I'm feeling it. Seriously.
You can't have a new home and not have a tree in it. You put up the tree last night, went to Home Depot, picked it out. it was like, this is the tree. And we put it up, and it just feels good. You gotta reward yourself for all the hard work this year. And I think a Christmas tree is a way to do that.
I've been feeling it. The holiday spirit has been inside of me, like just bubbling, and I'm like, well, what is it? Oh, I need a Christmas tree. That's it.
Holiday spirit speaking and saying, get yourself a tree.
Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
I love it.
Aww. Well, Devin, I appreciate you so much. I'm so happy for you, and I hope you have the happiest holiday. Congrats on your Leon Brettler Award. We're going to celebrate in person someday, and in the meantime, I'm just going to be raising a glass of champagne in your honor. How about that?
Cheers. Thank you so much, Beth.
Cheers.
I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful for ASCAP, and we're gonna make it through this crazy year, and 2021 is gonna be a climb. And
that's right.
We're going
onward and upward. Well, good. Well, I'll be here for you the whole rise up. Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Well, Devin, we're signing off. Hey, everybody out there, go check out Black Hole Rainbow and the new single by Devin Gilfillian. Streaming everywhere, but most importantly, you can buy it.
At the 2020 ASCAP Experience, our weekly series of free virtual programming for music creators, one of the most popular panels, called Anatomy of a Song, featured songwriter Whitney Phillips and songwriter-producer engineer Gian talking about the experience of creating the Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber hit Stuck With You, co-written in quarantine with Freddie Wexler and Skylar Stonestreet, and subsequently recorded and released, at which point it went to #1 on the charts. Gian also conducted a masterclass at the most recent ASCAP Foundation Harold Adamson Songwriters Workshop in LA, another example of the Foundation's valuable support for songwriter and producer development. Let's listen to this clip of Whitney and Gian talking about their unique collaboration.
basically, I think that what had happened was usually like with these Zoom sessions, because you have this latency between like, because of the video and whatever, I'll try to prep like 1 or 2 chord progressions before the session. So I think I played them. Nobody liked them as usual. No, I'm kidding. And Freddie had this concept, stuck with you, and we all started kind of talking about how we could write a song for this moment. And then Whitney was like, yo, we should do some like 6/8 kind of feel good, like slow dance vibe. So I think I just picked up a guitar and I just started playing that kind of chord progression riff thing. And I was like, does everybody hate it? And they're just like, no, it's good. Okay. And I'm like, okay, good. And they all started coming up with, melodies and we all started singing. And I just recorded that super like scratch Fender Strat guitar right into my computer. And I was like, oh, I'll redo it later. Like, it's just like DI, whatever. And ended up sticking and sent it to them. And we all just started writing melodies and discussing the concept. And as Whitney said, muting ourselves, being like, oh, I got something, singing it.
It's so funny because earlier that morning, I remember I do this like morning drive up to like Mount Olympus because I'm in West Hollywood. So I do this just like get out of the house. I always just drive around and think of concepts and things I want to talk about that day. And I was thinking like, should we write a quarantine song? Like it was like early on and I was like, is it corny or is it cool? Like I wasn't sure. And then we got on our session and Freddie was like, you guys, stuck with you. And I was like, all right, well, this is how
Yeah.
And just go all in. And it's funny because I actually was having that same word, like stuck together or whatever was running through my head that day. So felt very like meant to be. And I was like, boom, let's just roll with that. Yeah. And I think Gian will attest to this. We really pushed to make the lyric very classic and not like we wanted to do a sign of the times record, but we wanted to do something that could transcend this time that would be just like a great love song, like a year from now, or, a song that would make you think back to quarantine and feel nostalgic.
I don't think we necessarily saw the duet idea until later. I think it kind of started out as like, when we were writing it and it's kind of this like feel good, Motown inspired song. So it was kind of like, who could really deliver that vocal? That was really the thing. It's like, who could sing this song, And we had Whitney cut a demo. We had our good friend Blush cut a demo. And we sent it to Ari's team just somehow. And she cut it that night. And it was just the craziest thing because we're like literally doing notes via text messages. Like she's sending us these voice messages and she's like, she's recording herself at home and which is like nuts. And she's like, how's this sound? And we're like, this is great. And we're all like freaking out. Like I'm in Whitney, like, this is nuts. Ari's cutting it. And then she was the one who was like, yo, I think this could be amazing with the male singer. So we all started thinking of names and she's like, do you mind if I send him to Justin? And we're like, yeah, okay, fine. And, 2 days later, we were mixing it with Josh Goodwin and that was it. But it was, I don't think we saw, the stars really aligned for us and we're super grateful, I think.
I've never had a song go this fast. That's for sure. But I think there's something to be said for just where we're at in the world. Like, of course, like everybody's just at home at their computer. So it makes total sense. But the irony is like not lost on me that we spend all this time out in the city running around to these like multi-million-dollar studios and in and out working with artists, and it really took the entire world slowing down into a pandemic for us to just write something where we felt completely at home and completely in our own space, and just to write something that would go number one. Like what? It's bizarre, and it's like, I think that this industry just eventually will give you like some open field to run. And it's just like, when it does, you just like better be still going, and luckily we were.
It totally feels the same. I mean, I think it's like that, Malcolm Gladwell's idea of 10,000 hours. I think that's like just the start of where you like start to, and it's, I think also so much of this song is like what this song also taught me, and seeing the genius of Scooter Braun too, like just how you kind of create a moment around a song. And I think you could do that on like any, you know, kind of level, whether you're just starting out or whatever. It's just like creating these moments, creating these spaces for these songs and for these ideas. And I think that, as Whitney said, we kind of like just had this kind of open field that day where we weren't necessarily like, okay, this artist is looking for a song or this artist. It was just like, yo, let's just write something that we like really want to say, that really connects with where we're at personally, you know, and whatever. And I think that, you know, the prep work was those tens of thousands of hours to feel comfortable, I guess, like just saying, cool, we're not going to try to write an up tempo banger today. We're just going to try to write some feel good shit for us, you know? So yeah, but it's definitely felt like a long road. And I think it's, you know, a very long road ahead still.
ASCAP and Road Nation have teamed up for the Roadless Livestream Series, a virtual showcase featuring performances by ASCAP members. The first showcase is Tuesday, December 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on Twitch. Performers include Emily Bear, Amanda Jones, Natasha Mosley, Mary Angela, Lisa, and John Kay. Check it out at bit.ly/ASCAP Road Nation. That's bit.ly/ASCAP Road Nation. And if you are an ASCAP member, it's not too late for your opportunity to join us and perform on the next Roadless Showcase. Just visit roadnation.com/ASCAP and fill out the submission form, and you could be selected for our next live stream in January. Well, that does it for this episode. Thanks to everyone who made this podcast possible. The ASCAP Foundation's Colleen McDonough, Beth Brinker and Devin Gilfillian, Whitney Phillips and Gian Stone, the Midnight Hours' Adrian Young and Ali Shahid Muhammad for our theme music, Eitan Rosenblum for editorial, Tiffany Sims for graphic design, Kate Cordova for social media support, and Benjamin Keynes of Sight Sense Productions for audio and video editing. If you'd like to check out our show notes and listen to music mentioned in this episode, visit ascap.com/versed. And if you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and comment on the show on your favorite streaming platform. And finally, thanks for listening. We're coming up on a full year of producing this podcast, and it's been an incredible experience. We have many more exciting guests coming up and so much more to share. So until then, keep the music flowing, and we'll see you back here next time.